Welcome to Step Up Unfiltered. Join me for uncensored conversations where we tackle life's biggest issues and bridge division. I'm here with the champ, Gold. You won gold, not gold medal, but gold. Actually, just before I get into the interview, I'm just gonna let you guys know this is gonna be live on Luton Urban Radio on the 2nd and 4th Thursday of every month. Don't worry if you miss it live, because it will be streaming the following Monday on Spotify and YouTube. For those that prefer the visuals, go onto my channel, Step Up Coaching. It's also where I help men open up, overcome their limitations, and become the best versions of themselves. Now, bro, I know who you are, but obviously some of the audience that might be hiding under a rock don't know who you are. So if you could explain to the people a little bit about yourself, so name, age, occupation, and a fun fact that not everybody may know.
So my name is Modestas Bukauskas. I know that's a bit of a mouthful for most people, and judging by the accent, you wouldn't be able to tell that I'm Lithuanian. But yeah, I'm 30 years old, literally just turned 30 last month. I'm a professional mixed martial artist. I fight in the biggest promotion in the world, the UFC. Yeah, essentially you could basically compare that to like the Premier League of fighting. I'm also a 2-time Cage Warriors World Light Heavyweight Champion as well.
Come on.
Which is the same belt that Conor McGregor won before he went off to the UFC. So trying to go along the same lineage of some top guys out there. Yeah, so fun fact about me is that I actually used to play tennis and basketball before I actually went to go into doing professional fighting. And yeah, I actually lived out in America for 2 years as well.
Wow, so I didn't even know all of that. So an all-round athlete that we've got here. Okay,
Try it, man, try it.
Okay, well, let's unpack all of that. And let's start off with your background. So where are you from? Where were you born?
Right, so I was born in Lithuania. So I literally moved to the UK when I was 3 years old. So I mean, like I say, my very early memories of Lithuania were like kind of very shady. Like, I don't remember too much, but yeah, I've pretty much been living in the UK like my whole life. So
Labas, by the way.
Labas. Look at him, he knows, man. He's been researching, man.
Well travelled. So how did you find it coming to the UK when English isn't your first language? Was that an issue in school?
Not really. This is the weird thing, yeah. Like I can understand Lithuanian very well. Listen to like my parents talking, so kind of I could hear like everything like being said in Lithuanian and stuff like that. So every time I'd like listen to it now, I can like catch like little bits and bobs. And then I think if I would live in Lithuania for like a little bit longer, maybe 1 month, 2 months, I'd know it fluently. But essentially, I mean, most of my language, I think my parents wanted us, me and my sister, because I have an older sister, they wanted us to learn English so that they could learn English. Do you know what I mean? So they kind of use us as little dummies in a way. But yeah, exactly. Use us as bait. But to be fair, yeah, like, I mean, essentially most, like pretty much all my childhood, I didn't get my passport till I was like, I think maybe like 10 or something. So essentially it wasn't until then that I actually even went back to Lithuania. Do you know what I mean? So most of my memories from childhood are all mainly of the UK, you know what I'm saying? And that's why, like I said, that's why my accent's so strong. That's why when I speak Lithuanian, people think I sound like a bit of a dumbass. But yeah, man, like I say, most of my memories come from the UK.
Amazing. So how was school life? As you said, amazing, because I know when English isn't their first language, sometimes they struggle. Was it because you're the size that you are now? You always had the MMA brain and no one wanted to mess with you, or?
Well, to be fair, in school, mate, I was like a proper, like, it was weird. Like, I think I was actually always an eccentric character. I was always hyperactive and energetic, but I wasn't like that in school at all. I was always like the fucking unpopular kid, do you know what I mean? Like I say, I think, like pretty much English being my second language, but it's almost kind of like my first language. Do you know what I'm saying? Because like my parents started talking, and I started picking things up. But then as soon as we moved over here, like I was straight away thrusted into English. So language was any sort of language barriers was never an issue. But like, I don't know, I was always struggling to find myself, to find my identity in school. When I was younger, like, I kind of moved from a lot of different places as well, a lot of different schools. So I was always trying to fit in. That has always been like my kind of problem since young, is always trying to fit in somewhere. And I always never really felt like I did. This was kind of like throughout my childhood. Even though I was very successful as an athlete, it didn't translate to my success in popularity in school. So it was a bit of a weird sort of thing for me.
That's so interesting you say that, because I felt that, you know, I went from my primary school, had loads of friends, new high school. I was really good at sport in my primary school.
Yeah.
Then everyone was good at sport.
Yeah.
So it was that much harder. But, you know, as being one of the only black kids in the year, I felt that the easiest way for me to get in with the cool kids, let's say, was being good at sport. And that's how we all became friends. So it's interesting that you say that. I mean, not to skip too many phases, you've gone from being, you know, the kid that was really eccentric, to being the athlete but still kind of kept yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
To then going on Take Me Out.
We went through a roller coaster, mate.
We're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to your upbringing and whatnot, and the collegiate sports and whatnot. But talk to me about Take Me Out, because obviously that's where we met. So tell the people about your Take Me Out experience, and I guess the difference in confidence, because you need to be confident to do Take Me Out, no?
Oh, 100%. I think that was, in a way, it was almost like my breakthrough for me and my character, because around that age, I think I was 20. We were both 25, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
You were 24, sorry.
No, 25.
25, yeah. So that was kind of when I started, I'd say, breaking through in terms of sort of not caring what people think about me, and just kind of just being myself and really being truly and fully myself. That was like my almost defining moment, because that's sort of what carried me on to make me who I am today. So I was actually very thankful for that experience. It was bloody mad, because you know, I was just literally like on Facebook one day, and I got like some message from Sophie Caster, and like, listen, at the time, anytime I got a message from any girl, I'm like, yes, get in there, bro. Like, some girls adding me, like, I'm in there. And then, like I say, my game was not on point at that point either. Do you know what I mean? That was sort of, like I say, where I was finding my feet. Learning to be myself. A lot of people had that when they were younger. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people had that when they were like 18, 17, and I didn't have that. Like, only the start was like I say, around the time when Take Me Out happened. I remember like looking on there, and then they sent me a message, and then they said, oh, like, you should apply to Take Me Out. And I was...
So you thought you had a girl,
yeah.
You're like, yo, who's this girl? Let me chance her.
Exactly.
Let me
spit some bars, bro.
But you got scouted for Take Me Out.
Yeah.
You were coming into your own.
Yeah.
That's a ballsy decision. So what made you decide yes? Because, I mean, as you said, I mean, I kind of hit that confidence spurt, let's say, when I was 16. And that's only because I had a best friend that was dragging me to, like, you know, like nappy nightclubs, basically, where everyone's like 14. Everyone's on the Coke and lemonades, but you have to, like, awkwardly go up to a girl and see if she likes you. So the fact that it came later for you, what I find, especially when I coach men as well, when they haven't done it from a younger age, they just don't ever do it, and they really, really struggle. Yeah. So what made you decide, I'm going to go on national TV and I'm going to take this opportunity?
Well, I mean, like, even it was like answering the questions. Like I said, I'm just going to be fully, truthfully, and honestly myself, and just let it go. Let it, like I say, that was the sort of, already when I was going through the whole interview process of like doing Take Me Out, going into London, doing, like, I remember even talking to another guy who, like, listen, he was probably better looking than me at the time and whatever. He seemed like a pretty confident guy, and it's mad that they chose me to go on the show, not this other guy. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah, like, even like I said, as I was answering the questions, as I was going through the process of it, I just really and truly told myself, like, let me just like go all out, like completely not care, like literally take all the blockages away, just like I'm going into a fight. Do you know what I mean? You go into a fight, you got to embrace the fear, you got to embrace the anxiety, and you just got to go for it and just be like, embrace it. Do you know what I mean? Like, put some energy behind it. So I did that, and then I managed to obviously get the spot, and then like I say, Then obviously we met on the show, and it was like very quick. It only happened in like 3 days. We met up at this hotel. Then we went on the show. The next day we went to Tenerife. Next day we were back.
Well, my friend, you're missing out a lot of key information. You're missing out a lot of key information. So we obviously met. We had dinner. The next day, we found out with the second episode.
Yeah.
First episode, we hear that there's a huge 6'2" bodybuilder. He had one eye. We heard that someone got a blackout. So us 4 lads, we're bricking it. Let's admit, we're thinking, bloody hell. And then the worst thing is, they've called me at 1 o'clock in the morning saying, Nathan, we're gonna rearrange the show and we want you to come out first. I'm like, do you know what? Okay, I got this. I'm watching like a nice little Christmas movie. I'm going to bed. We need you to rap. Anyway, you know me. I was there trying to spit bars till half 5. Paddy come and check in on me. But anyway, enough about me. More about your experience. How did you find it? Because you came out. I know you already had the kind of MMA experience planned.
Yeah, it was mad because I was actually the last guy to go on out of all the group. There was 4 of us, and obviously, imagine we're in like this small room. You're like kind of away from the studio, away from everything, and everyone's in there. Like obviously, all the boys are like hyping each other up. Like, yeah, let's fucking go. Do you know what I mean? Like it's almost like you're like a freaking pep rally or something like in America. Do you know what I mean? Like getting everyone like hyped up and everything. You got like all the chicks like doing like all the makeup and everything. So imagine there's like quite a lot of like commotion going on in the room. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of energy in the room. One by one, slowly the energy started to die down, bro. Like literally, I just see less and less fucking people in the room.
Fight mode. It's just you in the room. Punch in the bag.
And I swear to God. And then literally, I remember, I think it was Ryan that went out, and so he was the second to last guy. And then as he went out, and they took him like got all the microphone and everything, because like I was the last guy in there, and I was the only guy in that room. Like it was just quiet. It was just me, and I was like, all these other guys have had people hyping them up this whole time, and I'm literally just here on my own, like I'm pacing up and down, and I swear to God, I'm like shadow boxing, bro. I'm like literally in here like throwing some shots.
Rocky, just in the background.
I'm like, where's my hood, bro?
8 bars just playing in the background.
Exactly, mate. Honestly, it was so nervous.
How did you feel when you came down the lift?
Oh, that was a proper like, fuck it, I just got to do it, man.
I was nervous.
Like I was. It's mad because you're going behind. Again, it was more nerve-wracking than a fight for me. Like it's got very similar sort of effects, like similar where you hear the crowd, like you're going behind the stage and stuff like this. So I could hear the crowd, I can hear Paddy, and I can hear everything, and I'm the last freaking guy as well. And I'm literally walking around the back, I can't see anyone. And then you go to the top, and then you just, obviously you're in the lift, and then like lock the door behind you, and I'm just like, and they're like, don't worry, you'll be fine. And I'm like the only guy in there. Exactly. And then literally, I remember, there was like a brief moment, it's like maybe 5-10 minutes, they said, all right, you're in 10 minutes, but I'm just sitting there waiting in this lift, like, and at that point, I was literally shitting a brick. I was like, oh my God, like, how am I even doing this? But then something in my head just switched, where as soon as Paddy starts introducing me, I didn't care how I looked, I didn't care what was going on, I was just like, I need to go down here and sell it and just embrace it and enjoy it. And like I say, that was a pretty breakthrough moment for me, because it was almost overcoming a lot of fears, nerves, anxiety in a social situation.
And do you know what I like what you said as well? I like how you said you compared it to a fight, because that's how I look at everything. How I look at my morning gym sesh, you know? How I look at this. This is a new experience for me, hosting a podcast. I look at it and I tackle it like it's a fight. And I know it's nowhere near as severe as what you're going through, because you're about to have potentially your head taken off.
Yeah.
But I take it as, you know, you got the anxiety.
You probably had the same feelings. Yeah.
But guess what? When you come out of it and you smash that episode or you smash that fight, you're only going to grow. And even if you make mistakes, you're going to learn from your mistakes. Everything's a learning experience. Mm-hmm. But the only way that you grow is by stretching yourself, not being comfortable. Yeah. Comfortable is the easiest way that you become the best.
100%.
When you're comfortable, you're not doing anything. You're looking at what everybody else is doing on social media. Oh, why is that not me? Why is that not me? Moaning. Stretch yourself.
Yeah. No, it's true. And like honestly, like I say, because I was never I wouldn't say I was never like I was always good at like talking to people and stuff like that, but I was never like the best. I was never like I say, like the guy who's getting all the girls, or the guy that was making all the friends, or you know what I mean, the guy that was like at the top everywhere. The only thing I knew really was, like I say, how to fight, how to be an athlete. I learned a lot of things obviously from my parents early about being courteous, polite and stuff like this, and you actually find out that in life you have to have like kind of two different sides. Do you know what I'm saying?
I want to tap into that later.
Yeah,
I've got some good questions for you to ask you when we go into a couple of later segments. And just to let everybody know, Mo is the nicest guy in the world. He might be a UFC fighter, but he's the nicest guy, and he's got a lot of patience. Trust me, we've been out before. And I've even wanted to, you know, gut someone, but Mo just he knows, and he could really, really damage someone. So I love that about you. Okay, so how did you feel when lights were going off? Did you think you were going to get a date?
I kind of in my head, I don't know, it's weird. I kind of already, as soon as like I walked out there, and to be fair, when I walked down, only one girl turned the light off, and she said it's because I had no facial hair. I can't believe my best line of the whole show, they cut it out. I said, what I lack in facial hair, I'll make up for in charisma. And they literally took it out there. I'm like, come on, man. That's a bar. Like, do you know what I mean? That's a bar. I was saving that shit the whole time. Imagine, we're literally in that, like I say, in the bit like before we go out, and we're literally just practicing what we would say. I think that was the scariest part for me, was actually practicing, like I said, because my social interaction wasn't at the highest, at the peak that it is now that I feel, right? So I was literally thinking to myself, oh my God, what if this girl says something like, what am I going to say to like make it sound impressive and this and that? And I was like going all over in my head, like, what am I, do you know what I mean? What am I going to say? It's mad that actually when I went out there, that's when I felt the most comfortable. Like, do you know what I mean? When I felt, it's almost like you put this image in your head and you're scared and you're thinking, oh my God, it could be this and it could be that. There's so many different outcomes. But then when you're actually out there, it's like, it's actually ain't that bad. And then it makes you even more confident. It makes you even more like kind of go that and want to, like I say, embrace the moment. Like, that's what I think it is about, embracing the moment. And on the show, like I say, as soon as like I only see one girl turn a light, I kind of already knew, like, listen, I'm a catch, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know myself, do you know what I mean? If you don't want to go out on a date with me, you are silly. Like,
do you know what it is, though? Do you know what it is? It's so funny because I really do feel like, unless you're going to go up to a woman that's up her own arse, realistically, most girls, it's really nowhere near as daunting of an experience as you make out, especially when you're nervous. As you say, you think of all these different possibilities and angles, the right things to say. All you've realistically got to do is just go there, be yourself.
Yeah, very simple. It's a very simple equation.
Be forward, but then not too creepy. Have a little bit of a laugh and just enjoy.
Yeah.
And not every girl's gonna like you. Maybe she does like you, but she's got a boyfriend. Maybe she's single and she likes you.
Yeah.
That is not too much to overthink, but I get that anxiety because I can speak to that in my younger days. Okay, so we won't talk names, but how many likes did you have on at the end? And I know I
think it was like 6.
You had 6, yeah, strong. So you had 6, you obviously got picked. Us 4 became quite close friends, especially me, you and Ryan, I'd say, because we prolonged it. But we all got on really, really well. And it's quite funny because you go to Fernando's, the girls getting one plane, the boys getting one plane. You literally spend 2 days with the boys, don't you?
Yeah.
And then the girls spend 2 days together, then you have your date on the last day.
Yeah.
And how was your date?
Yeah, so it was mad as well because I remember we were all chilling together actually in the hotel, and I actually thought when I was coming back from Fernando's I was probably going to have a fight. So I was literally, I don't know if you remember, I was like literally in the workout room like shadow boxing, going on the freaking, not eating anything.
I remember because I got brought onto the show as the bodybuilder. Like, the girls kept describing me as a bodybuilder. I was like, what? I'm not a bodybuilder. Like, shit.
Mr. Luton, bro.
Mr. Luton. Hey, it's all about you. It's all about you. But I'm in the gym and lads are like, you're big lad, Dave. Like, what are we doing? Then this guy comes out, bigger than me, quicker than me. This guy's just running around, flipping around, and I'm not joking, flipping around, literally. Like, doing high kicks, more flexible than me, and I was like, wow, if I ever fought MMA, I'd have to go down some size. It's just not for me, because I just see how athletic you were for, you know, what, you 6'2"?
Yeah, 6'3", yeah.
6'3", you're like you fight at what, 202?
205.
205.
Yeah.
And then obviously your carry around weight must be like 210, 220.
220, yeah.
220. So I was just thinking, damn, yeah, that lifestyle's not for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're shadow boxing.
Yeah, like shadow boxing, freaking.
You shadow boxed to go out on stage, now you shadow boxing for your day.
You know what I mean? Yeah, no, it was crazy, man. Like even the date itself, like I say, is a bit of a weird one because and again, I probably got into my own head at the time. I felt like I was a bit like the outcast of the whole group. I felt like I wasn't that guy that really truly fitted in. It's mad because when I went on the date, everything was great. It's almost like I was like, this couldn't really have gone better. The girl was like, I think 4 years older than me. Yeah. I think already in her head she wanted an older guy. Yeah. But you know, like judging by how everything went, I thought, okay, this maybe either could turn into something, or at least like, you know, like we can have a bit of a laugh, have a good time, and then.
And what did you decide at the end?
So we both said likey, like we both like obviously said that, you know, kind of date. Oh mate, I look back at it as well. I look back at some of the things that they put into the show, and I'm like, did I really say that? Do you know what I mean? It's like one of them moments where I'm literally just cringing, sitting there myself, like, oh my. And it's funny because for entertainment purposes, they only want to put either the really crazy things that you say. You know, they don't want any of like the normal kind of stuff, which I guess you could say I was a bit thankful for.
Should we do a spoiler alert? So guys, the live performance with Paddy, that is completely real, but the date is horrifically staged.
Yeah.
They get the girls saying like weird stuff that they've said in like their VTs beforehand. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one.
It was mad because for about half an hour they let us just free flow. They let us just do whatever the hell we wanted.
Yeah.
And that for me was like the most organic and the best way. Like you said, a lot of it was staged. We started outside, then it started raining, and then they made us repeat ourselves over and over and over again. And I'm just like, and it got to the point where like we're just literally just sitting there like just repeating ourselves, and it just kind of didn't make. It's mad because all the stuff that they recorded when we were organic was what they used. It was mad because the stuff that was staged they never used.
So one sec, just because we're about to go to adverts.
Yeah.
Final thought on the Take Me Out experience.
It was a massive turning point in my development as a young male and my development in like sort of my social stature, because I'd never really experienced something quite as nerve-wracking as that in a social environment.
Let's pivot a little bit. Let's go back onto your collegiate sport background. You said tennis, basketball, US. Explain to us, what you started with, how you basically got into MMA.
Yeah, so I basically, when I was a little kid, my dad is a hard motherfucker. Like, he was a former Soviet Union no holds barred heavyweight champion, which for anyone that doesn't know what no holds barred is, like, it's basically the very early days of cage fighting where there was a lot less rules. The padding on the gloves was a lot less and stuff like that. So he was a hard nut, if you can imagine, anytime he told me to clean my room, you best believe I cleaned my damn room. But yeah, at 5 years old, my dad just starts introducing me to punches and kicks, and he's like, oh yeah, like look at these cool kicks and stuff like this. And I, as a kid, you're like, oh wow, this is nice. And then literally about 3 weeks later, my dad's like, all right, now we train hard. I'm like, great, here we go. Buckle up your seatbelts, you know what I mean? And it got very tough very quickly. I remember vividly me just waiting, like, because my dad would pick my sister up from school, and then I'm just waiting till he gets home, literally, for us to go downstairs, and I'm going to like a 2-hour, 3-hour beastly session with me and my sister, and I know he's gonna shout at us, I know he's gonna, like, do you know what I mean? And I'm like sitting there like I'm scared and annoyed and like, well, why do I have to do this? Do you know what I mean? But I ended up being a full-time British kickboxing champion before, I think my last title I won was when I was 14. But anyways, so
Can I ask you a quick question? So, is that actually what you wanted to do, or was it something that you felt that you had to do because of the way that you grew up with that?
Yeah, so I felt like I was at the beginning I was forced to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed it because I enjoyed the feelings of success and victory and hard work paying off and everything leading up to a particular moment or a particular event. I enjoyed that, but I didn't enjoy the process. I didn't enjoy the process of training. I didn't enjoy the fact that I'm inside looking at all these kids playing and doing their own thing, like playing football, and I'm inside waiting for my dad to come home and get ready to like smash pads, and you know, him to get really mad at me because I'm fucking something up and technique wise and stuff like this. And always when I'm going to his kickboxing classes, always being the kid that's like kind of looked up to, like everyone's like, oh well, this is the trainer's son, he has to be good. So I had a lot of pressure on me as well. Yeah, I'm actually very thankful for all of that my dad sort of instilled in me, because I think so there was a time where he kind of let me go away from combat sports just to let me kind of dip my toes in other areas. My mum at the beginning, I was a very skinny kid. Like, you wouldn't believe it looking at me now, but I was a proper like mate. I remember as well, there was a chick in judo, because I was doing judo at the time as well, and I remember I was telling her, oh yeah, what events do you do in athletics? Oh yeah, I do shot put. And she goes, isn't that normally for like big people? I'm like, what are you talking about, bruv? And she goes, well, aren't you like a bit weedy for that? I'm like, what, weedy? And I remember I had to like look up on Google, what does weedy mean? Like, I was like, am I getting this right? Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, everyone remembers their first fight.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, great. So now I know that I'm like a proper, it's mad because I was a proper, like, very skinny kid, but at the same time, like, I don't know, I just had a knack for fighting.
So, do you, I mean, in your own words, do you feel like that's what shaped you into the man that you are today?
Yeah, like I think being forced to train and having a routine and knowing that I had to do this over and over and over and again, it just kind of, it translated to the rest of my life in terms of discipline. Now, I will mention, like I say, because I played tennis and basketball. Tennis, I trained so damn hard. Like, I literally, every single day, my parents paid for all these private lessons, and I remember got to the point where I got good, but I never got to that next level. I got to like county level and that was it. Couldn't get any further than that. And I remember it was really disheartening, and then I remember picking up a basketball, and I started like just like going to the court with my dad. And my dad goes, "You're actually not that bad at this." Now, for most people that don't know as well, Lithuania is ranked number 4 in the world in basketball. For such a small country, they are like literally one of the best in the world. You know, I think they even ended up beating America in the Olympics quite a while ago. So, you know, at the end of the day, it has quite a strong lineage. So my dad kind of felt like, okay, if you know, because he, like I say, he just let me like do my own thing, and he's like, okay, so maybe he'll go and do basketball, and then. Actually, let's go back a little bit. I remember I had because we're talking about discipline, right? I remember I had a hernia operation when I was very young, and this was whilst I was playing tennis. I was bedbound for about 4 weeks, wow. Like literally, and I couldn't go to school. I think for about six weeks, or they didn't let me go back to school because it's quite a painful operation. I couldn't walk. I had to like literally just stay in bed. I got very lazy. So if you imagine, I was literally training all the time, training every day, and like doing like a whole routine and everything. And then I went back to tennis after having such a long break up, and oh my God, I felt like a slug out there. Like I was literally like running to each ball, I'm like huffing and puffing and panting away. And I remember where like I was just sitting watching TV, because remember, my dad didn't take control because it's not his forte. His forte is fighting. If it was fighting, maybe it would have been, like I say, it would have been different, because he proper took control when I was competing. So
you were used to your dad's control when it was the fighting, but now it's you on your own. Yeah,
me on my own, and I because I got lazy, because I was bedbound, all I did was just sit around, watch TV. And I remember, since this day, this was the turning point in me in terms of being disciplined and making sure that I work really hard, and like I almost in my head, like I'm like, no, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Is I was sitting there, I was watching TV, and I was never like really like massively overweight, but I like, you know, I put on a bit of chub, right? And my dad goes in there and he goes mad. He's like, Modestas, what the fuck? You're saying that you want to be a bloody tennis player and you're fucking sitting here like, And he went mad. He says, you should be in that bloody gym, like practicing every single day, all your throws for your serves and everything like this. I remember getting so scared. And straight away, and it's mad because then I went to the gym to do some training and he just wasn't impressed. He was like, well, I told you. So, do you know what I mean? And I felt really disheartened by that. I was like, I can't believe that he's like that mad at me for that. And I remember to start off, I just wanted to impress him, right? Just to make sure that he saw that I was working hard. But then afterwards, it became a point of like, I just want to improve. I want to get better. And like I said, I never got to like the elite like sort of level there. But I remember I always used to be the hardest worker in the room.
So I love what you just said there, and it's like when you're a child, Jamaican household, you get the odd slap, and that's something that's so frowned upon in this generation in England. You even talk about that, and I say when I speak to people about it, I say, guys, that's the best thing that ever happened to me. 100%. Because guess what? I learned discipline, and still to this day, I never disrespect my parents. I've never ever sworn to my parents once. Yeah. And I hear some people, even people that I've dated, friends of mine, fuck this. I'm so confused. But that is how you become disciplined. You need that, sometimes that scare, that shock to respect your older. Yeah, you need that tough love sometimes.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give? I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but what advice, because obviously you have to be extremely disciplined, and talk to us about that as well, to be a UFC fighter and cut weight and diet and make all the training sessions. What advice would you give to people that are struggling with discipline at the moment?
Well, I think it's like, how badly do you want what it is that you're striving for, or if it is anything that you are striving for? Do you know what I mean? If anything that's worth having in life doesn't come easy, like I almost feel like, and this will go along the line of everything that we're going to talk about, but it's almost like you want to do things that make you suffer. I've noticed as well, all throughout my childhood, the things that made me suffer is the things that made me so good at what it is, whatever it is that I wanted to do. In school, I remember going to this really, really tough private school. First year, I absolutely flopped hard, but second year, all the teachers thought I was going to fail. And next thing you know, I'm out here getting like all the grades and everything like that just because I had to work my freaking, do you know what I mean? I had to work my freaking tail off and I hated it.
That was so similar to me. I came out and my GCSEs, I was in the bottom quarter. I was in the bottom quarter of the year and I felt so crap. And a load of my friends did really, really well and I felt really bad about myself, and I did psychology, and I'll never forget this to this day. My psychology teacher said to me, Nathan, you think you're all that? You do realise that you're not going to get anywhere with just charm, And basically didn't think I was going to get into uni. And honestly, I got an A in psychology. I got to the uni of my choice, and it was like a big F you moment. And she just broke down crying. I was looking to hug me. I was like, get off me, man. Get off me, man. You didn't believe in me.
Sympathy now.
You didn't believe in me.
Mate,
I beat so many of my friends that were supposedly a lot smarter than me in my A levels because of that grind. So I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. So you tried tennis. You've had a hernia operation. Now you've gone to basketball. Talk to me about the move to the US. Because again, from what you said earlier, obviously you were still kind of like that eccentric kid. You were still finding yourself. So what made you decide to move to the US to follow a basketball dream?
Yeah, so I got good quite quickly. I clearly had a talent for basketball, and again, I was very dedicated. I used to, before school, train for an hour, then go to school, then train during all my friends would just be chilling, doing whatever they want, and I'm always I'm always training. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, ever since that day with that whole tennis situation with my dad, I've always said, I need to work my ass off. And the things I wouldn't have got as good as I did if I didn't work that hard. If I just kind of mess around a little bit, I definitely wouldn't even got to that level. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, I didn't even get to the highest point or highest level in basketball. But like I say, I became pretty good. I was looking at, potentially trying to get a scholarship to go and play in college. So at the time, I just finished my GCSE, so I was 16. And I remember my basketball coach, Gary Maitland, who's actually a very well-renowned now basketball development skills coach. He went to a school in Louisiana, which is down south, deep south. Do you know what I mean? Right next to Texas. Like everyone's like, howdy y'all, howdy this. You know what I mean?
Louisiana.
Yeah, proper like exactly like cowboy boots. Freaking, they all love their trucks out there and everything. So he said, listen, why don't you go out to my school? Do you know what I mean? So like I said, I got to a decent level. They showed some tapes of me playing, and then the coach was like, all right, yeah, bring him over. And then it was obviously very expensive and stuff for this, but my parents just wanted me to succeed in whatever it is that I wanted to do, so they ended up paying for it, which I'm very thankful for, that they both paid for everything for me to go out there. And it was a massive culture shock, because America and England are completely different. And again, this was before I found myself. This is when, like, I sort of, the only confidence I had was in either sport or in fighting, or areas where I kind of know that I'm good. Do you know what I mean? And like I say, socially, I got to a point where I was always like the friend zone guy. Do you know what I mean? Like always with the girls. I remember all my mates were always like getting it with all these girls, and I'm like the friend zone guy, the really nice kid. That was brought over to the US, and I can say that if I knew what I knew now, like I would have killed it. But you know, obviously the first 2-3 weeks that I was there, I was like the instant celebrity. Do you know what I mean? Like it was mad, because it was like freaking a modern day episode of Saved by the Bell. Like you got like you make like locker rooms is proper, like how you see it on film is how it is, mate. Like freaking American Pie. Do you know what I mean? You got like the jocks wearing their freaking these like massive jackets from the school, and they're like sitting there talking to their girl and all that.
Were you a jock as a basketball player or not?
Technically, yeah. Technically, yeah. But like I say, I was brought up to be very polite, very courteous, very nice. So that always was brought over, no matter where I went. And I didn't realize as well that, you know, in order to you know, I didn't realize how to play cool. I was always just trying to fit in. I was always trying to fit in. You know what I mean? So when I went out there, first 2 weeks, massive celebrity, everyone's like loving me, and then as time goes on, like I say, it got to my head a lot. I need to try and fit in. I remember, not to say that I was losing friends, but like I was kind of like feeling like I wasn't like part of the crew. Like especially the guy that I lived with, he was an absolute amazing guy, and his family have been so good to me. But you know, like I just felt like I wasn't part of the almost like part of the groups that were in school, and I was always just trying to fit. Oh, where can I go to like maybe be that guy that everyone's like cool with and everyone wants me to hang around with them. And the only thing that I had to give me notoriety was I was the English kid. So every time I spoke, it's like, oh, say something. I'm like, what do you want me to say? Oh, and I'm just like, wow, I didn't know it was that easy.
Let me ask you a question then. Was there any romance at all? You could
yeah. So, and this is high school, by the way. So. Yeah, I mean, I remember distinctly, there was this one guy, his name's Chase. He's still my best friend to this day. He always checks up on me. He's actually in the army right now, in the American army, but he's stationed in Europe. So I talk to him, like, you know, I dabble every now and then on like Messenger and stuff like that. He was the guy that started the process of me being who I am, being myself, because I realized he did not give a fuck about what anyone thought about him. And he was just truly an honest, like I say, truly an honesty himself. So imagine, like I say, like what was it, like almost 8, 9 years later when I went to take me out. So you sort of rewind back. That's where it all kind of really began. I've got to thank this guy, because he was the one who made me be myself. Where by the end of my high school career, even in basketball, like I say, I always worked hard in basketball, always worked harder than anyone else. But in terms of like I say, like getting along with people and stuff like this, when I met him and when I started hanging around with him and we started like exchanging philosophies, and I realized like this guy's, I'm actually really similar to him. Like we get along so well, and like we're like hanging out all the time. And then
so was your romance Chase?
Huh? Nah.
I'm joking.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly. No, that's actually a really good point, because you know. He's the person that makes you feel confident.
Yeah, you fucker, man. Look at him.
Hey, I would never say this to the coach. This is Step Up Unfiltered, baby. Let's go.
But
no. On a serious note, he's the person that kind of helps you become, you know, find yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, I just started being a bit more this is where I started had like almost like my crazy stage, my sort of wacky stage, where really it was almost OTT, like to the point where I just really didn't like. I was completely embracing being myself. But that's where I started having success with girls. It was at that point. So maybe around 17, 16, no success whatsoever.
Yep.
Like I remember just going into high school, I thought I was going to kill it. Mate, I was
I mean, you're still young.
I mean, obviously
You're
it's
still
young.
pre-18.
There's a lot of guys that were already getting with girls,
yeah.
and I just was not, right? Even like before that, even in like start of secondary school, just nothing at all, right? And then that's where I actually met my first ever girlfriend, and I remember it was like a massive like process for me to like get with her. But I remember it's like I don't know if it's a bit of a weird feeling. I was almost like impressed with myself. I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna like check my game out. You know what I mean? See how I'm doing. Exactly. And I was like, yeah, this is actually like fucking working. Like everything I'm saying and I'm doing, and do you know what I mean? And like I said, like things are just starting to connect the dots. Do you know what I'm saying? And this was like my first ever like proper like really sexual contact with a girl as well. And you know, like I say, it was all a massive learning experience. But it all started with the point of me just being who I am, not caring what anyone thinks, and not trying to impress anyone too much. But I had a massive like roller coaster with that girlfriend. I actually ended up staying with her for about 4 years. Ooh. And all long distance as well. And like I say, with my persona and the way that I am, like I was faithful to her for the whole time, whilst we were like literally, people were telling me you're freaking nuts. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? For being faithful to a girl that's all the way across. But I went to go and see her a load of times and stuff like that.
What do you think it was specifically that one, kept you faithful to her for so long, and two, kept you both in that relationship even despite being long distance?
I think it was my first love, so I was like very head over heels about her. I remember she used to do some really weird things, but I think these sort of things like kind of almost kept me stuck to her like glue, which now I realise it's just all a game, right? It's all just mind tricks and stuff like that. Like she'll be like touching the leg of someone, and the thing is, I'm that guy. Weird shit, right? Like touching the leg of my friend who's just sitting there, like whilst we're like watching. It's like, what I realise now is that was just her trying to get my attention, trying to stir me up, right? But at the time, like I said, the way I've been brought up, polite, courteous, kind, don't want to mess with no one. I just wanted to keep things civil, so I never pulled it up on her. Do you know what I mean? And it's mad because, like, the more and more it went on, I was just getting angry inside. But in reality, I should have just said something. Do you know what I'm saying? And potentially, maybe the relationship would have ended like a little bit earlier. But it's almost like she was like kind of very in control. And this was sort of the running theme of a lot of relationships forward from that, which now I've like learnt from. But at the time, that was a massive learning process for me. Because like I said, this is the first girl that actually liked me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I never really had that too much when I was younger.
Do you know what? I love this. This is pure, authentic, real talk. Because there's this huge misconception, especially in this day and age. Right? It's like men are this villain, these bad, big guys, and women are the saints. And why would a woman lie about anything? And this and that. And men are just horrible. And this is an example of a guy that already had become a kickboxing champion. He's an athlete. He's 6'2". He weighs 220 pounds. And a girl probably that was a lot smaller in stature was controlling the relationship.
100%. And do you know what I mean? And I didn't feel demasculated at the time because I just was like, I thought it was in the bag that I even had a girlfriend, that I even had a
thought process. You felt lucky.
Yeah, exactly. I felt lucky that I was in this relationship. She was quite a good looking girl. A lot of guys like did find her attractive and stuff. And she played on the volleyball team, so you know what I mean. She had a great back. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like, you know, there's a lot of things where, like I say, to me, she was like up here, do you know what I mean? And not to say that I was like down here, but I don't think I really valued myself as a man. You
pedestalized.
Yeah.
I can't say that.
Yeah.
Pedestalized her.
Yeah. So
what led to the relationship ending?
So this was actually it was a very tough moment in my life because, like I said, she was my first love, and I really thought this was going to go all the way. We're probably going to get married and all this kind of bull crap that I realise now. Yeah. But you know, I was obviously, when I went home at 18 years old. So basketball was amazing. I had a great experience. I had maybe one school scout me from a Division 2 school, and they don't even offer full ride scholarships. And I basically, that was my goal, was to get a Division 1 scholarship, to give you a full ride. And I never got it. I just wasn't good enough. Yeah. It got to the point actually where at the end of the season, I stopped working hard because everyone was very harsh on me. Like the coach was very harsh on me. And like he would pull me straight out of the game when I'd make one mistake and stuff like this. And I actually got to kind of thank him in a way because he was so hard. He was way harsher on me than any of the other players. At the time, I didn't know if it's just because I'm English or whatever, but he treated me like, I used to get shouted at all the time during basketball, all the time. Everyone, I'm never good enough, never good enough, never good enough, never good enough. Do you know what I mean? But like I say, so towards the end of the season, I kind of just, not to say that I gave up, but I'm just like, well, clearly I'm not going to go anywhere. It's like kind of towards the end of the time where I am going to get any offers. So I'm just kind of going to pack it in mentally. Mm-hmm. And I was already transferring the idea of I'm going to be a fighter again. And I had a massive conversation with my dad on the phone, like literally like 2 hours I spoke to him. He basically gave me the ultimatum. He said, listen, you can either go to college in America as a walk-on for basketball, or go to this Division 2 school and try and make it still to a Division 1 school as a basketball player and go out there for however many years, so you'd be like 22 when you're done, or you can come back home and you can start your fight career right now and just go and get a job. You know what I mean? And I opted. I didn't want to go to university. Not to say that I didn't like school, but I was never the most studious. I worked hard, so that's why I got my grades, but I was never the most naturally intelligent or clever person. So I was like, do you know what, the process of me being a champion in MMA already just went wild through my head. And I just said, do you know what, we're going back home. And then, sorry. Yeah,
well, I mean, what decision to make?
Yeah.
You fight MMA, and you stay over there, and you become basketball player. So like, what a decision. Was that a decision that you look forward to?
Yeah, so I had excitement because I wanted to be the best.
And why did he believe in you so much being a fighter? Despite going off into tennis, allowed you to do basketball.
I was a full-time British kickboxing champion. He'd been training me since I was young. I competed in judo. I remember my sister was always much better at judo than me, and we competed alongside each other. And she was always winning golds. I was not placing, starting getting bronze, then silvers, then golds. Like, I had to make that transition of slowly getting better. Because I was very heavy, because I was tall always when I was younger, but obviously I wasn't older. So like, I would always compete against older kids who are much stronger than me.
So it was all about technique.
Yeah, but strength plays a big factor. Of course. You know, especially when you're grabbing the grips, I just had no chance, basically. So I think, you know, he always said to me, I always known since day one, whatever sport you would really choose to play, you can make it, no matter what it is. If you really put your mind to it, you can do it. And he always used to tell me this. And obviously with the fighting, he just knew that I had a lot of talent for that. Because like I said, I was winning everything. I was competing in martial arts, winning everything, whilst doing tennis and basketball, and not even training in martial arts properly, but winning all the medals there, and not necessarily winning all the stuff in basketball or tennis.
Yeah.
So for him, it was like, it only like sort of makes sense. And then, so I went home. So obviously I'm with the girl, and we kept this long distance relationship going. There's a lot of tough times.
That's break coming.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Break coming. 15 seconds.
but yeah, essentially at 22, a decision had to be made whether we wanted the relationship to continue, and that's what I'll go on to.
Was that mutual, or was it? Or do you want to go on to that?
We will go on to that.
So you were just talking to us about your relationship and how it came to an end. So if we
we'll just jump,
and then we're gonna go straight into the MMA rise to success.
So essentially, I had I had a really strong start to my MMA career as a professional. As an amateur, I went 7-1. I won a belt. I won 2 belts, and then basically it got to the point where I couldn't find myself an opponent.
2 belts were?
It's called WCMMA at the time. Now I don't think they even run anymore.
And what was that feeling of winning your first belt?
It was like I kind of knew it was gonna. It's the same like kickboxing. It was like I kind of knew that this was how it's supposed to go. You know, obviously I was mad elated because I'm like, oh, I'm here, I'm gonna win a belt, and then especially when I defended it, I remember I had a really hard time in that fight because the guy was a good wrestler, but I ended up winning by split decision, and that was a really big feeling for me because obviously, like I say, it's just coming back from adversity, getting taken down, and then I almost finished him in the 3rd round. And it was very back and forth.
And let's explain what split. We're going to do 2 things. Let's explain what a split decision is, and explain what actually MMA is, because I still feel like a lot of people are confused.
Yeah. So a split decision means basically 2 judges give it to one person, 1 judge gives it to the other person. So overall,
it's a decision basically. So
yeah.
He gets to the end of the fight thinking, I might have won.
Yeah.
But in the back of his head, he doesn't know where the judges are going to go.
Yeah.
But he won majority decision.
Exactly. So,
and MMA?
And then MMA is it's mixed martial arts. So essentially, like from the olden days, it's basically from the start of it, it was which is the best martial art. And like now, it's basically putting like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, striking. You put everything together in a cage and basically see who's the best athlete, you know, who can blend all the martial arts together the best and come out on top, essentially.
Yeah, so for all of you guys that think boxing is so much harder than MMA, in my personal opinion, I want to get your opinion on this, MMA is so much harder because there's so much to focus on. Yeah. You haven't just got to be good at striking, you got to be good at grappling, you got to be good at jiu-jitsu, and I think that was what was good about it in the day, because you're watching a kickboxer versus a boxer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing, you get a grappler against a striker, and most of the time the grappler would win.
But now all of you are coming up, and you, as you said, you knew judo, you're a kickboxing champion. So you're growing up now, all the kids are growing up with all of these blends of championships and different things. So
and every generation it just gets better and better. Like my generation is going to be worse than the next generation. It's just going to keep getting better and better because now there's a lot more access to it. There's a lot more training with it. Like I say, the game is only going to evolve more and more. So the young guys coming up are going to start taking over. So like I say, I'm now getting to the point where I'm the older guy. Do you know what I mean? Now I've got to show these young bucks how to roll with the MMA.
Talk about us dirty.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean?
We're still young.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you won a couple of belts in a smaller organisation. You kind of always felt like it was always going to happen.
Yeah.
Now let's go on to further in your career. I don't know if you want to talk about the end of your relationship.
Yeah. So this is all tying in basically. Cool. So then I started as a pro at 21 because I couldn't find me an opponent at amateur. So I just went straight in as a professional at 21 years old, which is quite young, especially because I started my career at middleweight, which is 84 kilo. So for guys who are heavier, it's not common for them to start their pro career quite so early. The first year that I competed, I went 4-0. Everything's all great, handy dandy, freaking girlfriend loves me, do you know what I mean? I'm winning, so everything's all great. Unfortunately, at the beginning of the year after that, I had my first title fight, and it was against a guy who was 17-3. I was supposed to fight one guy who had a much smaller record, but then from the same club they switched and had this other guy. So there's a little bit of a stitch up. But I was training with John Jones, who's the UFC light heavyweight champion, well, heavyweight champion now.
The greatest of all time.
The best. So
best ever do it.
I remember I asked him a question. I said, should I take this fight? And he said, the courageous thing for you to do would be to take this fight. However, the smart move would be not to take this fight. However, I leave that in your hands. Do I think you're good enough? Yes, but it's up to you. So if the GOAT's telling me I'm good enough, I'm obviously going to take it.
That's an exclusive. Ariel Hawani did not get this. I've never had that before. Words from the greatest of all time.
From the greatest of all time,
That's incredible.
So, and obviously, like I said, I've been training with him for like 10 weeks before that fight. And, you know, that was my first actually taste of defeat. I lost very quickly. I was embarrassed. the mad thing is that my girlfriend at the time, that was the first fight she ever saw live, and I lost like within the first 25 seconds. Main event, like big hype, and I let fear take over, and I didn't react quick enough, and I ended up losing the fight. Like I said, madly embarrassed. It was like a big thing, main event, and then I lose like very quickly. Already I could see in her eyes that, you know, oh, maybe this guy's not that good. Do you know what I mean? Like, underlying. I remember I went to like afterwards to go and meet my friends at the hotel. Everyone came up to hug me except for her. She was like the last one. It was really weird. Like she didn't want to embrace me or hug, like it was really weird. And at the time I didn't really think much of it, but even my sister and my dad said it's a little bit weird.
That was supposed to be your rock.
You know what I'm
She's
saying?
supposed to be giving you that feminine energy. Like
Yeah.
she should be the first one moving everybody out the way.
Exactly.
Crazy.
So it was great because she was in London for I think for the second time, and we like I say, it was great to have her there, but at the same time, like I just felt like things weren't quite the same as when she was in London before. Like there was just something a little bit off. And then I just wanted to get back on track, and this is when I actually signed for Cage Warriors.
Okay.
So I ended up losing that fight, but the guy from Cage Warriors, the president said, listen, you're a good fighter. We want you, we want to build you up the right way. They gave me a fight, and I was winning, I was doing great, and then I got caught with a right hand. Yeah. And that was all she wrote. And it was a fight that I should have won.
Yeah.
And a lot of people straight away just threw me to the bin.
Yeah.
Big prospect, he's nothing. And already I could see things in my relationship, not to say that they were rocky, but it was almost like kind of like, there was hints of me having to pack it in, do you know what I mean? And it got to I know this is a very long-winded story, but it's better to sort of
we got to get to the main fighting juice.
Yeah. But this is like where I say this is where everything grew from me wanting to prove everything wrong, to prove everyone wrong. And this is where it all started, which is from this breakup, essentially. So I got to the end of the year. I was in America seeing her. Had no fights lined up because, again, Cage Warriors was not giving me a fight because I'd lost against a guy that I should have beat. There was a lot of, like I say, I remember going into the gym, people like turning their backs and basically not even saying hi to me anymore because I lost these 2 fights. And like it was really weird because everyone was like all like, oh, hey, how you doing? And then afterwards, it's like as if I would walk through the halls of the gym as a ghost.
What was your dad's reaction?
Well, my dad just always knew that. So like I said, since day he knew I was the best. So he always told me that. He said
when you lost the fight.
Yeah, even when I lost, he said, "You're much better than this."
Beautiful.
Like, do you know what I mean? You're much better than this. You're just not showing who you are. When you do, trust me, you're gonna. But those were the times when I had to figure out what things went wrong. And like I said, this goes further on into my career. Every time things haven't gone my way, why did that happen? And what do we need to? Every time I fixed it, it was like I said, it was like a calling from God. This had to happen in order for this to happen. So, yeah. And then I ended up training in America, and I got an injury, like really bad knee injury, meniscus tear. I remember, and I didn't know this at the time. Had no obviously medical insurance. I had to wait till I got home to get that sorted. But essentially, I remember because I was so upset about this knee, and like I just wanted to not bother. Like have families really turned their back on me. This was already the first time where I was thinking, am I going to continue this or not? They basically just stopped talking to me. Like I was in the house living with them, didn't talk to me.
What?
Have no idea. I was injured, and they just I don't know why. I really don't know why. It's because they thought I was holding their daughter back. Like now my career's had a bit of now I've had an injury, and then the same thing was starting to basically boil over onto her.
Yeah.
As soon as I left, they had like a massive conversation, and it ended up with her walking out of our own house and going to her grandma's house, and we were on the phone, and I could see already in the way her words were going, like just saying about, oh, but is this career really worth it, and blah blah blah, like, you know, are you really gonna, you know, because you told me, oh, years and years and years, like, oh, we're gonna be together and this and that, because I thought she was the one, you know. And then yeah, I just said at the time, I was like, I guess we shouldn't really carry it on. And it was that was definitely a mutual decision, because she also felt the same, like I don't want to be like holding myself back, and we both felt from both sides, but that was the first time that I had people really doubting me. That I had really people turn a blind eye and think, well, this guy's not really that good. You know, he's faced some adversity. Maybe he's not cut out to be a high level fighter. Where I was literally winning everything, and then all of a sudden I started losing. I was like, what the hell is going on? So,
ladies, this is a message for the ladies. Yeah. Sometimes you need to bet on potential. Like a lot of girls, when they're younger, they'll bet on potential until something goes wrong, and then it's over for them. And then it's okay. Well, silver lining, I'll be able to find a better guy. Not always the case, because he might not treat you right. He might seem better on the surface, but it doesn't mean you're gonna have that same connection as you did with that guy. And a lot of girls don't understand that. They don't understand the work that a guy has to put in, the work that you had to do, and we'll go on to become champ. The work that you had to do on your own confidence to be that guy.
Yeah.
The amount of work is crazy, but they want the finished article. And this is a perfect example of when you need to bet on potential.
Yeah. Oh, and 100%. And like I say, clearly she didn't. And you know, that was my first real like sort of heartbreak, because I remember I was kind of like, you know, you've broken up, but you're still like kind of almost trying to make things work a month down the line. And then I just remember having a phone call or a text message from him saying, "Nah, this is it. I'm done. Like I can't do this anymore. Basically, like this isn't going to work. I don't know how your career is going to go, and blah blah blah." And then I was like,
how did you feel?
My heart just sank and dropped. I remember crying. I remember going straight to my mum, basically like, I can't believe this happened. Like I felt like my soul had been taken away. And it's mad because I was listening to a song, you know, Congratulations by Post Malone. That song was playing at the time. At the time that I got this message, and I'm like looking at it, I'm like, I thought like my life was over. Like, because this girl, like I was so madly upset that it didn't work out, basically, that we couldn't make things, because I was starting to get back on the right track. I'm recovering from my surgery from the knee and everything, and that was my first major knee surgery. And then I'm like, so she doesn't believe in me. No one else believes in me. Like, I need to prove these fuckers wrong. Like, no one believes in me. Do you know what I mean? I need to make the comeback. And that was already the start. The start of me making my comebacks and everything in life was there. That particular moment, coming back from injury, 2 losses. No one gave a crap about me. No one cared. And I had to recover from the injury. The whole time I was the only one that saw this vision with my dad and my stepmom now. We were the only ones that saw this vision, this grandeur of me coming back and making a difference and making a change, but no one else did.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
This might be a silly question, but who is your biggest influence?
My biggest influence? Well, 100% my dad. Yeah, like without a doubt. And a lot of times when I felt like I was down, like I remember, like even after that, like I say, that first injury, I was sitting there crying because I just lost a sponsor that and I was very thankful that he sponsored me for 2 years. But again, betting on potential. This is another thing that you just said. He was betting on my potential. He literally paid for everything for 2 years, and he was a great guy. He was the general manager, I think, of David Beckham at the time. So he was more in football, but we got on, but after those 2 losses, we're asking like, are we going to cover this operation, or comes to our house basically to tell me we're done, our relationship's over. And then I had to we then went to the NHS and we got everything. So NHS were amazing with that. Literally got it done within 2 weeks, which is exactly what we needed. So congrats to the NHS, because they've always helped me out, you know what I mean? Exactly, do you know what I'm saying? No, 100%. They did an absolutely amazing job, got me back on my feet. But yeah, coming back from that was my first thing where a lot of people just counted me out, and that really started the furnace in my heart to want to prove everyone wrong, that what they thought of me was bullshit. Like, do you know what I mean?
So where are you at this point? So you've lost before you've gone to Cage Warriors. Now you've gone to Cage Warriors, you've lost your fight.
My first one.
You got injured, broke up with a girl.
Yeah.
You're in this phase where you're like, I'm against the world. It's me against the world.
Yeah.
So now what's happening?
Yeah, so I was recovering from my injury, started getting back into training. Everything was like, I'm starting to see the bright lights. Got a new job at this, and this is another thing. I just started a job at this personal training place. It's called the Gym and Tonic at the time. It was in Radlett. this was my first ever, like, my mum paid for me to do a personal training course, got my level 3, applied to this place. And this was, like I say, another little breakthrough in my social outgoings to be able to blend with loads of different people. So I started working there. Everything was going great. No fights. Yeah. Cage Warriors didn't want to give me a fight. My dad was messaging them and the matchmakers. No response. My dad asked them then, can Modestas do a kickboxing fight? Because I was contracted to 4 fights. And still no response. So my dad goes, fuck it. Let's go take a kickboxing fight. And I went to this kickboxing fight. I won by spinning back kick. I literally tore the guy's liver. This was bad. Like, I actually really like the guy. He's also a fellow Lithuanian. I remember, like, within the first 30 seconds, like, he just was kind of coming forward a lot, spinning back kick right on the money. And apparently in hospital, he said it was one of the worst pains he's ever had. Like, I just caught him clean, spinning back kick.
I might have to forget this friendship.
Mate, I'll be your bodyguard, you know what I'm saying? On a night out, it's like, yeah, come on. He's going to start it with everyone, do you know what I mean?
Spin to the liver.
But yeah, so imagine fucking putting that off in the street fight. Just out of nowhere, bro. But it's because he was coming at me, so it just made it even worse.
So you won your kickboxing fight. And where does the success to gold come in Cage Warriors?
So at this point, then this is where my Cage Warriors run officially started. Mm-hmm. Because a week after that fight, my dad sends the video to them. We've got a fight for you. Literally beginning of the year. So the fight was in November. Already in February I had a fight. I think March, sorry. And then I ended up having my second sort of debut, I guess you could say, because it was after the injury. I came in there, won the fight.
Perfect.
Then there was a fight in Sweden, 2 weeks notice. A guy basically pulled out against a top-ranked main card, like tattered guy. Everyone thought he was going to be sick. I said, yeah, I'll take him. So I stepped in. I did them a favour. And we got to Sweden, me and my dad, and one of our training partners as well. Literally, as we got to Sweden, the guy pulls out. And I was like, are you for real? Like, we just took a fight because he had a concussion in training. So then, luckily, they got a replacement. And, I mean, the guy was good, but he wasn't amazing. So, I beat him in the first round, rear naked choke. Weirdly enough, the guy who pulled out was in his corner, which I thought was a bit dodgy. You know what I mean? It was very dodgy. But I was like, whatever. Time goes on.
Shook of the Baltic gladiator.
Do you know what I mean? That's what he was thinking. He was like, God damn, I don't want to fight this guy. Do you know what I mean?
You step up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then after that, basically, I ended up getting a bit of a knee injury, like a dislocation. So I was out for a little bit. This was a time where, again, I was really struggling to sort of fit in with people, like people that were at my work, and trying to like be that guy that everyone liked, and seeing that all the girls and all these people started liking them, and I'm like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? So like I said, there's a load of like different things that was going on. I was facing a lot of mental struggles at that point.
Would you say that you had a bit of a bit on your shoulder?
I mean, I don't know. I think definitely in the fighting realm, for sure, I had a chip on my shoulder. But in terms of like maybe like relationship stuff like that, I just wanted to be liked for once. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I felt like I like imagine like when I was playing basketball, when I was playing, always getting shouted at, always telling I'm not good enough. Like even with my dad, like I could always be better. Do you know what I mean? And like I think I had that sort of ingrained in my head that I was never good enough. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what's so interesting, right? And I said this to somebody earlier today. What people don't realise is we can do a lot of self-work as we get older, but we're basically a kind of a caricature of our younger selves. And our values and beliefs are all created when we're kids.
100%.
Adolescence ages. And for some reason, whatever it is, what you think about most is what stays in your subconscious. Yeah. And that's what you think about yourself. Yeah. So your belief system, you actually believe 4 negative beliefs for every 1 positive belief. So everybody grows up with self-doubt, that. Obviously, the more positive reinforcement that you get, the less that'll be a big deal. But I can hear it like as it keeps coming out.
Yeah.
There's doubts.
Yeah.
Being shouted at, and it's
all
so
the time,
interesting to hear how that's transpired.
Yeah, and you know, like again, like I was struggling to get a fight.
Yeah.
I was like really struggling to get a fight, and this was around the time I think Take Me Out maybe came about.
You were still PTing, I remember that.
Yeah, so I remember I had a hard time, like I say, getting a fight, and then Cage Warriors basically said you're allowed a 1 fight release because we can't find you an opponent. Go and fight somewhere else, and then you can come back. And then this was my first professional title that I won. It was Fight Star Championship. I won the belt again, ground and pound, first round, and that was like sort of what propelled me a little bit. I was 7-2 at the time, good record.
Yeah.
And then beginning of the next year, my dad says to Cage Warriors, listen, give us someone good. Like, we've had the warm-ups now. Give us someone good. We just want a title at Fight Star. Let us now have someone good. They gave me the top-ranked guy in Eastern Europe. Again, I believe they thought I was going to lose, or they almost wanted to shut us up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's exactly what they thought, but it felt like it, because okay, well, if you want a harder opponent, here you go. But again, it's not. At the same time, I realise now it's not because they wanted to get rid of me. No, it's like, okay, let's give you a test. If you pass, we're going to up you even more. So it's almost like, okay, let's see if you can back up your words. And that was the opportunity. I was given the opportunity. Imagine I could have never got that opportunity, but thank God they did. Again, we had a spinning back kick finish. It was mad because the crowd was going crazy. I remember second round, I got up, I started punching him, and he just wasn't punching back. And then the crowd was going, I could barely hear myself think. My dad in the court was the only person I could hear. The only person. Like literally, I couldn't hear no one else. Spinning back kick. Literally, my dad's going mad in the corner. Bang, spinning back kick, finishing. And it was mad. That was a massive moment. That was another, again, coming back from adversity. I was losing the first round, losing the second round. Bang, come back, spinning back kick. Big highlight reel. Everyone's like sick. Cage Warriors are now starting to promote me a little bit more. Then I had my first fight for a world title in Cage Warriors against Marvin Hamlet, who at the time was a 6-1 favourite.
Yeah.
I told everyone, it's mad, I told everyone to bet on me. This was my first time where I could really make something of myself. This is where I can make history. And this is where, again, embracing yourself, being who you are, really find what it is that you want. Do you know what I mean? And really believing in yourself. My dad told me all the time. Like, I remember, especially before that fight, that was probably the turning point in my career, was winning that belt, because this was the time where, like I say, I was still a massive underdog. Still at the time, everyone still didn't believe in me, but I believed in myself, and my dad did as well. I remember printing out a photo. So I trained with John Jones for 10 weeks when I was 20. At this time I was 25, so 3 years on. Pictures of me and Jones, a couple of pictures on a piece of paper with the Cage Warriors belt. I remember going with my friend to the Birmingham Fitness Expo. I can't remember which one it was, but John Jones was there with a sponsor, with GAT Nutrition. And I said, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to go say hi to him. So me and my friend, we drive over to Birmingham, and we go to the stand. I bought VIP and everything, because I'm like, do you know what? I really want to, because I knew if I waited in the normal queue, I wouldn't get it. So I paid for VIP, and I went up to him, and I thought he might remember me, he might not. Straight away, how's it going? Like, he bloody remembered who I was. And I thought that was mad, because obviously it was 3 years. And I came up to him with this sheet of paper. This is where my law of attraction really started being prominent in my life. I had this sheet of paper. I give it to him. I say, bro, do you mind signing this for me? And he straight away like gave me his number and said, yo, come and meet me afterwards. Obviously, it was never going to happen. He's got so much stuff that he had to do, a lot of PR. But still, the fact that he remembered me was like giving me a load of praise, and then like signing my thing. I framed that now. That's in my room still. I wrote underneath that, Modestas wins Cage Warriors belt by knockout in round 2. And I'll tell you what the crazy thing is. This is why, like, I really believe law of attraction is really powerful. I wrote on the sheet of paper. I said round 2, but I said a win by knockout in round 2 at 3:53, right? In that round. And then obviously we go into the fight. I told everyone to bet on me. Literally all my friends. I think I made my friends about literally altogether probably more than $1,000, right? Altogether, like if you count each one of them. This was the big fight. I told everyone to come. I sold a load of tickets. It was at the Apollo, big event, Night of Champions. And I knock him out in the 4th round. So I said 3:53 on the sheet of paper. 3:52 was when I knocked him out.
Come on. So he's just won the belt. Law of attraction pretty much came through. Wrong round, but pretty much the exact same timing.
Pretty much. That's what was weird, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And then I came and saw you, didn't I? Me and Ryan.
Yeah.
And a couple of my boys. We came out and saw you in the O2.
Yeah.
We see you defend the belt.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was amazing, man. Just to spend some time with your dad. We all got a picture of your dad, the belt. Seeing you win with an elbow, honestly, I was just like, he has to win. I was like, my boy's got to win. And just to see you there, man, like, win by knockout as well.
Yeah.
That's how you want to see a fight end.
Yeah,
it was honestly incredible. It was incredible, man.
And it was great to have, like, I had a load of the people from Take Me Out there. It was good that everyone like came out to support and stuff like that.
And how did you feel as well? Because you've always said, you didn't feel like you fit in. You didn't feel like some people in the past may have liked you. Was that a sign to show you that, look, I've only met these guys for a few days and they've come out to see me fight?
Yeah, I don't know. I still think at that point, even like I said, I hadn't really hung out. I think that was the first time that maybe me and you actually started clicking a little bit more. Like, I remember me introducing you. You introduced me to your mate as well. He was a really cool guy, and stuff like that. And like I remember, it was just weird. Like I say, that was kind of like the start of like maybe our friendship getting a little bit stronger. Do you know what I'm saying? 100%. And it was weird because like all the Take Me Out people, I remember actually, they all wanted to go out and do something. And I was just like, nah, I just want to chill with my family. I just want to go home. And like, not to say that they got a little bit, it almost looked like they were a bit like, what's this guy doing? Like, why is he just going home? Like, why isn't he coming out with us and stuff like this? And you know, and like I say, ever since then, I kind of just never really spoke to anyone from there, which was weird because I've literally just defended a world title and then went off to the UFC after this. Do you know what I mean? So
let's skip on to that then.
Yeah.
Because I think that was the same for all of us.
Yeah.
I didn't really speak to anyone. Take Me Out either, except from Ryan.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about signing to the UFC.
The first time.
You defended your belt twice. You won the belt and defended. Did you ever think you were going to get the call up? How did it feel when you got the call up?
So I signed with Iridium Sports Agency after I won the belt. Mad story to this as well is that when I went and trained in Albuquerque when I was 22, the wrestling coach put me in touch with a manager. I didn't have a manager at the time. My dad was my manager, and his name was Jason. We had a little conversation. Obviously after that I ended up losing 2 straight, but then I went on this massive streak. Right before my first title fight against Hamlet, he messaged me and said, yo brother, I see you're doing things. After this fight, give me a call. Before I'd won the belt. Straight away won the belt, called him, I signed with Iridium. And this guy was the best and he still is the best in the business. He manages the top guys in the game. Brandon Marino, Sean Strickland, guys that are up there, right? So he obviously, he's really good at what he does. I initially thought after I won the belt, I could potentially get on last minute in Copenhagen. And unfortunately no one pulled out, I couldn't get on it. Then he goes, all right bro, we're gonna defend the belt one more time and then you should get the call. Defend the belt, and then it gets to like Christmas. And I was kind of sitting there because I was like, it's been November when I fought and it's now going into New Year and I haven't got anything yet. I was getting a little bit disheartened. I was like, well, what's going on? Like, I just wanted to know what was happening. Am I going to get signed to the UFC or am I not? Am I going to have to defend my belt? And I told him, I said, I just want to fight. Like, let's defend my belt again. I don't even care at this point. And I remember, this is like, already for me, this was like a very, again, career-defining moment. I woke up because I needed to take a piss at like literally like 3 a.m. I see like literally like 4 missed calls from my manager. Normally doesn't give me missed calls, but at the time I was like, I just need to go to the toilet, man. And then I thought, shall I call him in the morning? Shall I call him now? And I think he called me at like 2:30, so it was only like half an hour. I thought, fuck it, I'll give him a call. And we talk, and he goes, yo, how you doing, man? I'm like, I mean, it's quite early here in the UK, but you know, I just woke up. But yo, like, what's going on? Like, what's the commotion about? He goes, how do you feel about fighting in the UFC in the next fight? I'm like what? Like,
so what was the feeling?
Like, I don't know. It was almost like, it was weird because it wasn't unexpected.
Yeah.
Like, because I knew that this was the natural progression that was going to happen. But when he said, you're in the UFC, I was like, my childhood dream, or like even my dream that since I started MMA, after all these setbacks, after all these people counting me out, telling me I ain't going to be shit, my fucking girlfriend like we're splitting up with each other. And now I'm actually in the UFC. A lot of my friends who were in fighting are all trying to reach this goal, but now I've done it. It was like, and my skill set was very raw still at the time, and it was mad that, you know, that I'd done it. I remember finishing the phone call and going to the room next door to my dad and like telling him, and even him, it was weird because at that point he was like, oh, well, I knew this was gonna happen. It's very weird. It's like,
Dad's always gonna give you that tough love way.
Like,
inside, he's screaming.
Yeah,
but on the outside, he has to show you that that's not enough because I wait till
he was mad happy.
Yeah.
He was mad happy, but he was like, oh wow, of course. Like I knew this since day one. Do you know what I mean?
Stay stoic, don't he?
And then I couldn't go back to sleep. And then I remember going to tell one of my best friends like straight away. I literally like drove to his to the gym because I used to work with him. He's my best friend to this day. And I just went to the gym. I just told him I'm in the UFC, baby. And like again, it was something where everyone's like they knew it could happen, but the fact that it did happen made it all that more special. You know.
So let's talk about the level up now. Because now you're going from fighting kind of national talent, European talent to the world's best talent. So how did you find that transition, and how did you find walking out for the first time?
Yeah, so I was a big prospect at the time. The fact that I won the Cage Warriors belt was big, and defended it, that was big. Cage Warriors, for anyone that doesn't know, I mean, in Europe, is the premier promotion. It's probably ranked number 3 in number 3 or 4 in all the major promotions in the world. So Conor McGregor winning that belt as well, it was a big deal. So I knew that the level of competition that I faced, especially towards the end of my Cage Warriors run, was at the UFC level. Otherwise I wouldn't be ready for this. Cage Warriors ran a very good organized show, so the way that they did it was very similar, but UFC was on another level completely. I remember walking out, because this was Fight Island. This was during COVID.
This is COVID times.
Yeah, this is during COVID. I remember I just signed to the UFC, COVID hit. And I'm sitting here thinking, when am I going to fight? I remember I had a fight booked for San Diego, for America, to fight against a Brazilian lad. And then everything just shut down. And I was like, what's going to happen? I remember they told us, the UFC gave us an email, all right, all the fighters are going to jump on this call with Dana White. So literally, I'm sitting there on a freaking call with Dana White. I'm like, what? This is the guy that you just see on TV all the time. And now I'm literally talking to all of us on the call. Yeah, man. Basically just saying, we're setting up in Dubai, our own facility. COVID ain't going to stop us.
And to be fair, big up Dana for that, because he was the first person to say, COVID isn't going to be that bad. We're going to stick through this. And he was the only sport promotion to still stay open throughout the start of COVID anyway. So,
100%. So, you know, obviously it was during COVID time. So the whole event was amazing. The way that they run it, they did all your nutrition for you. They made like a big scene of the weigh-ins and everything. The only thing that was weird was that there was no crowd there. So, you know, I was used to fighting in front of a crowd. So it was a bit like weird, but at the same time I started to go do a job. But when I first laced up my UFC gloves, when they first put on the red tape on your gloves and they're wrapping your hands and you're wearing like it was Reebok at the time, their own special kit with my name on it and like my jacket, I'm like, made it, haven't I? Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I'm freaking out here doing bits. Walking out felt so natural to me. It felt so, I don't even know. Like, it just felt like I was supposed to be there. I'm like, this is what I want to do. Oh, yes. When I had that playing, brother, trust me, I was hyped, man. It's mad because no one even knows the extent of
That's his theme song.
What that tune. Oh, mate.
So I seen you because I stayed up for that fight. I was like, I got to see my boy in his first UFC performance, and to see you win, coming down with those elbows, same elbows that I see you literally just win when you defended.
It was mad. Yeah, exactly. It was exactly the same finish, and in the fight I felt pretty comfortable. What people don't know is that I had really bad bursitis on my knee. My knee was like a balloon before the fight. And then we're getting into the fight, and I remember he starts kicking my leg, and not to say that but I started feeling like, okay, I'm starting to feel this a little bit. And then I was, it got to the position in the cage, like in my previous fight, and my dad, again, shouting in the corner, elbows, elbows. And I just threw everything I could with it. And the guy couldn't continue to the second round, and then I win the fight.
First round.
And then in the first round. And again, I wrote on my vision board at home, I said that I would win by knockout. And I also said that I'd win the 50 grand bonus and give that to my parents, which is everything that came true, basically. I literally, I remember sitting in like the breakfast room with my manager, and he's just shouting like, yes! And I'm like, what? You just won the 50 grand bonus? I was like, what? Bruv, this was the most money I've ever had in my life. Obviously, I knew that all of that was going to my parents anyways, but I remember my parents were like, financially, they needed a bit of help anyways. It felt so good to be able to give, do you know what I mean, this amount to my dad, this amount to my stepmom, and be like, yo, sort yourselves out, do you know what I mean? Like, it was one of the biggest things for me, and especially law of attraction, again, everything I written on my board again just came true. I was like, god damn, like this is like, I can't be stopped. Like, I literally felt on top of the world.
So then let's move on. So then you faced Jimmy Crute, who was another upcoming prospect, lost that fight. Then I felt that the next fight that you had, you lost, but you won.
Yeah.
I thought you got an unfair ruling by the judges.
Yeah.
And then let's move on to the Khalil. Is it Khalil Roundtree next?
Yeah.
And I know Khalil Roundtree is like a legend in the sport. Big, henge, black guy, Muay Thai. Oh no, my boy's fighting Khalil.
Yeah. So this was a fight where I made a lot of changes. Since my last loss, that one that happened to Oleg Shaychuk, where the majority of people thought I won that fight. I almost finished him in the first 2 rounds, and for some reason the judges gave it the other way. And I actually gained a lot of respect from that fight, even with losing. But before the Khalil fight, I ended up getting a really serious knee injury that I didn't tell anyone about. I was in a very tough spot financially because I was literally just trying to train full time. I was so believed in myself so much that I could do it all and just keep winning, that I just literally put all my eggs in one basket, said, I'm just going to train. I'm not going to work. I'm just going to train full time. Because I had enough money to hold me over, but nothing like substantial that was going to help me in my future. But I was hoping that I would win to help myself, right? So I called the doctor and I said, yo, like I need to get my knee checked. We done an MRI. He said, right, Modestas, both your meniscuses on your left knee are torn, and you've got a 75% tear in your ACL, and your MCL is chronically worn. And this is 10 weeks out from the fight. And I said, can I fight? And he said, listen, judging by how strong your legs are, like the foundations that you built on your leg, this is an injury that I've been actually dealing with since 2019. Yeah. Again, another thing that people don't even know about is that before the title defense, 3 weeks out, I actually tore my ACL, 50% of it. So now, fast forward to 20.
Just to let people know, that's the injury that you hear that basically ends a lot of football players' careers.
Yeah.
Tearing your ACL.
Yeah.
And then the MCL is as bad, but it's still a pretty bad injury as well.
Any ligament damage is not good. Stability's off, but yeah. so I asked him, like, you know, what do you think? He said, listen, your knee's very strong in terms of your muscle around it. So essentially my muscle was holding my knee in place, not my ligaments. I remember training and feeling instability, having to work around it. I couldn't lift the same weights, I couldn't do the same things, but I just wanted to work around it. I still believed in myself wholeheartedly. I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna go in there, and it's gonna be an amazing story for me to go out there and do it. I just changed teams before this, with a team that, you know, the guys were cool and stuff like this, but it wasn't the same like the team that I'm with now, you know, or the team that I was with prior to that fight. And it was just a bit weird. I took two of the guys from that team with me, one of the coaches and one of the training partners, and we go into the fight, and already from the beginning we had issues. Like, we all had to do COVID again. This was during COVID. I had to do the COVID tests and stuff like this. Me and my two other corners were fine. My dad, however, the test came unclear. I was like, oh my God. So we had to get on the flight, but my dad couldn't. He had to take the test again. He had to literally come into the US by himself. And he's, you know, like, he's getting a little bit older, and, you know, his English is great, but he's hard to understand for English speaking people, right? We fly into Vegas. I'm there, and then my dad comes later. Like, I remember the UFC did not pick him up. I sent him the address. Obviously the time difference was crazy. I was like really worried about my dad. Is he gonna get here? And then but if I didn't tell the person at the desk, listen, my dad's gonna be coming very late, I need you to open the door for him, because there's obviously COVID, like everything was like blocked out, loads of security. They would have thought, like, who the hell is this guy? Do you know what I mean? So luckily I told the person downstairs, and then he managed to get in, but he had an absolute ball ache. No one from the UFC came to pick him up, and I couldn't get hold of my manager, and then he couldn't get hold of my manager, and he literally had to try and get a cab and find where the hell this hotel was.
Okay, now let's go on to the fight, because we need to talk about that.
Yeah,
aftermath of the fight.
Yeah. So obviously, I fought that fight very, very scared. I remember in the change room beforehand, I'm like warming up, and I feel a click in my knee, and I couldn't straighten it. So and they said, you're up in 5 minutes. Couldn't straighten my leg. I literally banged the wall as hard as I could with my leg, and clicked back into place. Literally 2 minutes later, we'll walk out. And I remember feeling very, like, why am I here? Like, why am I actually here? Like, do I even want to fight? Like, I remember saying all these things to myself, trying to hype myself up, but in reality in my head I'm like, I don't actually want to be here. And then I remember getting into the cage, and then I'm like, okay, I just need to feel my way into the fight. So we start moving, and the stuff that we were working on, like throwing the front kick straight away. First front kick I threw, block, bang! I get caught with a big shot, and mate, I think literally with the first punch he threw, he broke my nose. And like, I was literally, I was fighting to survive at that point, and I just never really got into the fight, and I never really fought, because I was always worried about these massive punches that were coming behind me. The fact that I survived, people were very shocked, because he literally hit me with his best shot. Shots that he knocked other people out with, I was still standing with a bad knee. And then second round, I start catching him with the jab. I'm starting to feel my way back into the fight a little bit, and then his corner was telling him that I was very heavy on my front leg. Maybe because my leg was already injured, but I was feeling that the jab was catching him, then maybe I could catch him with other things after that. And the next thing you know, he throws a side kick, and I already knew it was done at that point. He threw a side kick to my knee, and my knee just went inwards, and tore the MCL completely. ACL was 95% torn. There's literally just a strand hanging, and both the meniscuses were even more torn, one of which was off the bone as well. So it was a really severe knee injury. A lot of people thought that was career ending, and that would never come back.
What did they say in the hospital? I remember in Ariel Harani's interview, he said it looked like the worst injury they'd seen, or one.
Yeah. They said it was like, weirdly enough, they actually said the fact that they did the MRI, they expected it to be a lot worse. Apparently they were literally looking at the screen, like closing their eyes. They're like, I can't believe this has happened. So, you know, the fact that my knee actually held up to that degree, they thought that's like almost like a miracle, because they expected my knee to be completely shot. It was, but like I'm talking like no coming back, you know. But thank God that the UFC did cover this injury. Thank God that I had the best doctors in the country working on it, and thank God they literally used synthetic ligament in my ACL and my MCL. If they didn't, I would not be sitting here, you know, in the position that I am now.
Because how long did it take you to recover? Because it felt quick from where I was sitting.
So from injury to me coming back to the cage was 14 months. But for me coming back to training, I think was about 8 months. But again, trust me, the ligament that they put a synthetic ligament to uphold everything. It's like a foundation to a building. Mate, like I said, my knee is stronger than what a normal knee is, like in my ACL now, because of what they did. But I remember waking up off the operation table was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Like my knee was like, I remember the first thing when I woke up, usually when you wake up you feel like loopy, like I did not feel like that. I literally, the first thing I said was, yo, I need more painkiller, please give me more painkiller, like I need it. Like I told them to inject me as much as possible. Like, I was going mad. I was sick. Like I was literally, I couldn't stop throwing up. My dad, I remember him looking at me thinking, I can't believe my son has to go through this. Like, because it was the worst injury that they've ever, like I said, that they've ever seen. Not only that, they were in the operation room for 4 hours to fix this knee.
And Ariel Hawani's interview, you said that you were drinking yourself to sleep.
Yeah.
Touch on that.
Yeah, so it got to a point where my relationship was very rocky. I had another relationship here just before I went into the UFC. That was very rocky at the time. Like I say, she was a great girl, but unfortunately, I just didn't feel like the belief in me was quite there, and that sort of created problems. So I had relationship issues. I was madly hoping that the UFC wouldn't cut me, and at the same time, I'm just kind of like sitting there and my legs, like I'm in mad pain, like literally the amount of painkillers I had to have and stuff like this. And it was just a constant cycle of, I hope I don't get caught, I hope I don't get caught, I hope like, you know, things with my relationship works out, I hope that, like, what am I going to do work-wise, how am I going to make money, like literally all these thoughts running through my head, how am I even going to, you know, what's going to happen? Like, I know this is a process, but I was trying to stay positive as much as I could. But then the point where I started badly drinking was I just split up, or I just said for the first time with my ex, like let's not be together. 5 minutes after, I get a call from my manager that I'm cut from the UFC, and I'm sorry, I looked at it on UFC roster watch on Twitter that I'd been removed, and I was like, then I called my manager, I said, yo, is this true? And he goes, yeah. And then I remember, like in tears, calling my ex-girlfriend, like, I've just been cut from the UFC. And then I told my parents, weirdly enough. And then but yeah, already from that moment, like, it was probably the worst, like lowest place I've ever been, because the dream that I've been working so hard to achieve, it just blew up right in my face. Literally as quick as it happened, it was gone. 2020 I signed, 2021 I was gone. So like for me, and again, everyone, he wasn't good, he was shit, he's not meant for the UFC, he's never coming back.
Talk more to that dark place that you were in, where you felt that you needed, I remember you saying that you felt that you had been a blue lightsaber your whole life.
Yeah.
And then you needed to turn to the red side.
Yeah.
Blue pill, red pill.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously when all of this happened, I started drinking. No one even knew about it. My dad didn't know about it. When I told it on the air, Hawani, like even my dad was like, "What, really?" Because I kept it quiet. I would literally drink myself to sleep because I didn't want to be in the reality. I just wanted to be somewhere else. I didn't want to be here living my life right now because it's so shit. I just want to be somewhere else. So drink would help me to get to that place.
I'll just say one thing as well. When I coach, one thing, a massive component of it is bringing someone to the reality, because that's how you're getting in your own head.
Yeah.
The obstacles you're facing, having to realise that you've done something similar in the past to get that belief in yourself again.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting you say that's what you were trying to escape and that's why you went to that space.
Yeah, I didn't want to have to be here anymore.
Present.
I just wanted. I mean, there was times where like, you know, it's mad because I never ever thought about like killing myself or anything like that. I never thought about, you know, I was always in the back of my head, always wanting to just try and make it back and to try and make this dream still alive. I never like necessarily like really doubted myself, but I just didn't want to have to experience what I was experiencing. The humiliation, like, do you know what I mean? Oh, he's been cut from the UFC. Everyone knows about it now, and like, you know, like all of these things would just put me in that dark spot, and it also made me realize that people aren't as nice as what I thought they were. I had a lot of really bad experiences as well with that team that I was with that went to Vegas at the time, and it just shows me no one really gives a shit about me. Especially, I went from 13,000 followers on Instagram to 11,000 after that injury, which is mad because you're thinking, how are people so fickle and dumb? And do you know what I mean? Like people shows people really don't care. I remember sitting there all upset, like trying to sort everything out. And I remember my training partner, Will, he's a really good friend of mine now as well. He came to see me. He was the only guy that came to visit me. I didn't even train with him that much before that fight. He was the only guy to come across from, you know, Victoria all the way to me. And when I was sitting there, and I was telling him about my experiences and saying how upset I was, and he was just saying to me, Modestas, you haven't got enough red lightsaber in you, man. He was the first person to tell me about that, and he said, you know, you're too blue lightsaber, mate. You're too kind, courteous, loving, caring, thinking about other people. You don't understand that people will try and take advantage of you. People will try and take things that's yours. You know, they will be vicious with it. They won't care. They won't have that empathy. The way to deal with these people is to you got to bring out the red lightsaber. You got to bring that same energy back to them. He says, don't go too crazy that you're just completely consumed by it, Darth Vader, like, you know what I mean? Like all the way to that one. So you don't have to go so far gone that you completely consume yourself in darkness, but because you still want to be that empathetic.
But have a bit of it.
Yeah, but you got to have it, yeah.
Bro, we've literally got 10 seconds left.
Yeah.
Plug any socials that you want now to people.
At MODYB24 for Instagram, at Baltic Gladiator on Twitter, and yeah, I think that's it, man.
What a conversation.
At Baltic Gladiator on TikTok as well.
What a conversation. Part 2 is definitely coming because we haven't got back onto his rise back from the injury. What an episode. Please do follow me at step.up.coaching on YouTube for all of the highlights of the podcast and for my coaching material as well. And step_up_unfiltered on Instagram for all of the clips. Thank you for watching. Come back again in 2 weeks. I've got a banging episode with a woman called Ria who became a successful entrepreneur from a really young age and then turned into a bodybuilder.